Rome never found his body. Think about that. The most powerful empire in history, 40,000 soldiers, total victory, and they couldn't find the one corpse they desperately needed. The man who terrified them for 2 years simply vanished. But stick with me, because what happened to Spartacus in those final moments will completely change how you see this story. This is the tale of a slave who did the impossible, a gladiator who built an army of 70,000 and made Rome's legions run in fear. And trust me, the way it ends, Rome won the battle, but they absolutely lost something far more important. Keep watching to find out what.
Spartacus is trapped. Behind him, the Mediterranean Sea, with no ships and no escape. In front of him, 3 full Roman armies, 40,000 professional soldiers, the largest force Rome has assembled in decades. Leading them, Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome. And here's the twisted part about Crassus. He made his fortune as basically an ancient arsonist. He'd show up at burning buildings with his private fire brigade and offer to buy your property while the flames consumed it. Say no, he'd watch it burn to ash. That's the kind of man Rome sent to end Spartacus. Not their best general, their greediest.
His obsession with gold would become his death sentence, literally. If you want to hear how the Parthians forced molten gold down his throat, check out our video on his demise. Spartacus knows what's coming. His generals want to negotiate or flee into the mountains, but he knows Rome doesn't negotiate with escaped slaves. There's only one option left: attack at dawn and try to kill Crassus himself. Cut off the head of the snake. It's a suicide mission, but here's what you need to understand, and this is crucial for what happens at the end. Spartacus isn't fighting to win anymore. He's fighting to control how his story ends. Remember that. 2 years earlier, Spartacus was nobody, a Thracian gladiator trained to kill for Roman entertainment. 70 slaves escaped with him from a gladiator school. 70. By the end, he commanded 70,000. How? He won! Again and again and again. He defeated Roman legion after Roman legion. He humiliated their generals, burned their estates, freed thousands of slaves. For 2 years, the unstoppable Roman war machine couldn't stop one escaped slave. Rome was terrified, and when Rome gets scared, Rome gets brutal. Wait until you hear what they did to his survivors. It's honestly hard to believe. 70,000 men wake up knowing most will be dead by sunset. These aren't professional soldiers. They're farmers enslaved for debt, runaway teenagers, gladiators, men holding weapons they've scavenged from the Romans they've already beaten. Spartacus doesn't lie to them. He doesn't promise victory. He tells them the truth. We're going to die today, but we'll die on our feet, not on our knees. Then he does something that becomes instant legend. In front of his entire army, Spartacus dismounts his horse, draws his sword, and kills it. His men are confused for a moment. Then they understand. If we win, there will be plenty of horses. If we lose, I won't need one. No retreat, no escape, forward or death. Across the field, the Roman legions wait. They've been training for this since they were 16. Stand in formation, lock shields, advance, kill. They don't fear these slaves. They've been told these men are inferior. that Rome's divine superiority makes this a guaranteed victory. They're about to learn otherwise.
They don't charge like Romans in neat, disciplined lines. They charge like a tsunami, 70,000 voices screaming as one. The ground shakes. The Romans brace themselves. The collision sounds like the world splitting open. The front lines dissolve into complete chaos. These slaves aren't fighting for pay or glory. They're fighting because chains are worse than death. A gladiator's spear punches through a Roman throat. A legionary sword opens a slave's stomach. Men are slipping in blood and mud. The screaming is deafening. But here's the thing, and this matters for the ending. Spartacus isn't trying to win the battle. He's trying to reach Crassus. If he can drive a sword through Rome's richest man, maybe the legions panic. Maybe chaos gives his people a chance. He fights like a man possessed, cutting through Romans with everything he learned in the arena. He's heading uphill, always pushing toward where Crassus watches from safety. But numbers don't lie. The Romans aren't breaking. Slowly, brutally, they start pushing back. A spear catches Spartacus in the thigh. The pain is blinding, but he rips it out and keeps moving. Blood pours down his leg, but he props himself up with his shield and continues forward, always forward, toward Crassus. With just a handful of his best fighters, Spartacus makes one last desperate push. They're wading through Roman soldiers now, cutting and dying. One by one, his companions fall, but Spartacus keeps going. He can see Crassus now, see the fear creeping into the Romans' eyes as this blood-soaked gladiator limps toward him like death itself. For one incredible moment, he's close, so close. Roman guards form a wall. Spartacus tries to break through. He kills 2, 3, but there are simply too many. His wounded leg gives out. He drops to one knee. They surround him, dozens of blades pointed at one exhausted, bleeding man. He looks up at them without fear, only contempt. He spits blood, raises his sword one final time. They fall on him in a frenzy. 20, 30, 40 wounds. They don't stop until the greatest slave rebellion in Roman history bleeds out in Italian mud. The battle is over. 70,000 slaves entered that field. Maybe 6,000 survive. Crassus walks among the thousands of corpses, searching, turning over body after body, looking for one face. Spartacus. Where is he? Where's the body? His officers bring him corpse after corpse. Wrong man, wrong man, wrong man. The one trophy that would make his victory complete? Gone. But wait. Before I tell you what really happened to Spartacus's body, you need to understand what Rome did next, because this is where Rome showed its true face. The 6,000 survivors are chained and marched north toward Rome. Crassus orders crucifixion, all of them. Not a quick execution, slow, agonizing death by crucifixion. They nail them to crosses along the Appian Way, the main road from Capua to Rome. One body every 40 meters, for 200 kilometers. 6,000 crosses, turning the spine of Italy into a forest of suffering. Some die in hours, most take days. Crucifixion kills you slowly. Your body weight pulls down. You can't breathe. You have to push up on the nails through your feet to get air. Eventually, exhausted, you suffocate.
The crosses stay up for months. The message is clear. This is what happens when you forget your place. But here's what drives Crassus insane. He gets his triumph. He enters Rome as a conqueror, but everyone knows the truth. He doesn't have the body, the one thing that would make his victory complete.
Spartacus died on his feet, sword in hand, fighting, and Rome never got to parade his corpse through the streets like a trophy. What happened? Nobody knows for certain. The legend says his men pulled him from the pile of corpses in the chaos, that they burned him in secret and scattered his ashes so Rome could never desecrate him. Maybe it's true. Maybe in the confusion of 40,000 dead bodies, he was simply lost. Either way, Rome never got what it wanted most. 6,000 of his followers died on crosses displayed as warnings, their bodies left to rot as public entertainment.
But the man who led them, the slave who made Rome tremble, he vanished. He died free. He died fighting. And Rome, with all its power and all its legions, couldn't even claim his bones. That's what haunted them. The name Spartacus became legend. For centuries afterward, every Roman master feared that one day another slave would hear that name and think, if he could do it, why can't I? Rome crucified 6,000 men along 200 kilometers of road. They won the battle decisively, but they lost the one victory that mattered, the proof that they had truly defeated him.